and share my screen. So good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, February 16, 2022 meeting of the Gloucester Conservation Commission. The time is 6:08 p.m. Consistent with Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, this meeting will be conducted by remote participation. The public may not physically attend this meeting, but every effort will be made to allow the public to view and listen to the meeting in real time and participate when necessary. Persons who wish to do so are invited to view the meeting at the link provided on the City of Gloucester Remote Meetings website under Conservation Commission, or join by phone using any of the phone numbers provided on the meeting notice and agenda using webinar ID 874-5499-2637. In the event that a live transmission proves unworkable for any reason, an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the meeting will be made available on the city's website as soon as possible. A roll call of commissioners present tonight to begin. Co-Chairman Gullah.
Here.
Commissioner Charpentier.
Here.
Commissioner Cook.
Here.
Commissioner Gradwall.
Here.
Commissioner Sargent.
Here.
New Commissioner Bob Sherman.
Here.
And Co-Chairwoman Ann Jo Jackson.
Here.
Thank you. And
Okay.
with that, I will turn it over to you, Mr. Gullah.
Thank you, Adrian. So first up is our administrative briefing. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Adrian.
I do. I have only one thing. It's a reminder for everybody about the Climate Action and Resilience Plan CARP community workshops. We have another one upcoming on February 24th at 6 p.m. You can go to the City of Gloucester website and probably, just Google CARP Gloucester to get the registration access to join the meeting. And then there are also going to be new small group workshops throughout the month of March where you'll have an opportunity to provide feedback. So please do register and attend. You can watch the February 2 meeting from the CARP webpage on the City of Gloucester website. Website on, yeah, you know what I mean? And be all caught up to speed.
Okay. Next up would be the public comment period. This is the period of the meeting when the public is welcome to speak towards any conservation issue that, again, is not on tonight's agenda. I repeat, any conservation issues that are not on tonight's agenda. You may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
Okay, Co-Chairman Gullah, there are 16 panelists and 19 attendees on the call, and I do not see anyone with their hands up at this time.
Okay, seeing none, hearing none, to close the public comment period. Next up is minutes review and approval. We have February 2nd. I would assume we have a quorum for that. So if we want to move that for approval.
Certainly, Commissioner Jackson moved, and for the record, by the way, I've listened to the tape of the February 2nd meeting, the part which I was not able to be in attendance for. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the Conservation Commission minutes for the meeting of February 2nd, 2022 as amended.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier.
Yes.
Commissioner Cook.
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall.
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent.
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman.
Abstain.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so before we get into the continued business portion, there's a lot of previous continueds. I can't tell which is previous and which is requesting. I guess I see one request. Has anything changed from this since it was posted today, Adrian?
No, I posted a revision this afternoon. We currently have 2 requests to continue on this agenda.
Okay, I'm seeing one. Where's the other one?
They are 105 Wingershik, Lot A and B, request to continue to April 6th, and 33 Two Penny Lane, request to continue to March 2.
I see 33, 2, oh, there it is, 105. Okay, still a little confused here, but let's, all right, so we have RDA Salt Island Road, Salt Island LLC, Evan Gaverdi, I'm never gonna get this right. Gavendarin at DeRosa Environmental Consulting, they are continued, already previously continued to April 6th, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Next up is notice of intent, 14 Hill, notice of intent for 28-2811, 14 Fort Hill Ave, 14 Fort Hill Ave nominee trust. Evan Gavendarin representing there as well. That has been continued to March 2nd. Next up is notice of intent 28-2827, 105 Wingersheek, block A and B, 125 Wingersheek LLC. They're requesting or it's been moved to April 6th.
They have requested.
Okay, so we gotta move this.
Yep.
Okay,
Commissioner
so
Jackson.
if we could clean that up, I can't tell, Adrian, because they're blue and red, and I don't know if there's a way to clean that up, because I'm confused on what is already continued and needs to be continued. So
Okay.
Andrew, if you want to continue, notice 105 Wingersheek to April 6th. if you wanna
Yep.
move that.
Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 028-2827 at 105 Wingersheek Road to the Conservation Commission meeting of April 6, 2022.
Carpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall.
He's rebooting, I think.
Okay, Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
I'll abstain.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is notice of intent, 28-2815, 33 Two Penny Lane, Di Filippo, Mike DeRosa at DeRosa Environmental Consulting representing. They are requesting a continuation to March 2nd, 2022. You want to move that, Angel?
Yep. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue 33 Two Penny Lane, NOI 028-2815 to the Conservation Commission meeting of March 2nd.
Carpentier seconds.
And roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall. Not here. Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman,
Abstain.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
Yes.
Thank you.
So just so I don't get caught up, there's still one more continuation out there that, or not?
No, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, then, next up would be notice of intent 28-2825, 128 Wheeler Street, Arena, John Judd at Gateway Consultants representing.
Thank you, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, John Judd, representing Stephen Arena for this property at 128 Wheeler Street. You may recall at the last hearing, there was a couple of requested modifications to the plan, which we submitted to the commission or to Adrian right afterwards. But I can go through those minor revisions, one of which was to add the shrubs that are in front of this house. So this is a reconstruction of an existing dwelling on the same footprint, the same foundation. There was some requests to add the existing shrubs that are in front of the house and on the side of the house, with a note that any shrubs to be removed would be replaced at a 2-to-1 ratio. This is the original plan, Adrian.
Oh.
We should have that modified plan that was
Oh,
revised the 3rd of February. One of the other.
There it is. Okay.
Yep, one of the other modifications was, it was requested that we show that small catch basin at the bottom of the driveway, and where that outlet is a 4-inch pipe that discharges from that catch basin, and that is shown on the plan. Thank you. Yeah, that should show it there. And a little bit further up, we'll show that catch basin. Yes, you can see at the bottom of that circular cobble line driveway, at the bottom there, just below the proposed dumpster location is a catch basin. You can see the 4-inch discharge pipe that goes into some crushed stone underneath the existing elevated deck. And we did add a note that any shrubs or vegetation to be removed would be replaced at a 2-to-1 ratio. And that's shown on the plan as well. So we did move that dumpster back into the paved portion of the driveway. There's a where it says existing stone area, that's where we originally had it situated. It's a flat area down there, but we moved that back into the paved area. And I think that was one of the comments that was requested. But up on the right-hand side of the upper right-hand side of the plan, we have mitigation notes for indicating that 2-to-1 ratio of replicated plants are going to be required for any of those shrubs to be removed. And I think that was it. Those were the requested modification.
Okay, so what I'll do is we'll open up for public comment first. Seems like we're having a little bit of bandwidth problem tonight, so people just be patient. So let's, if anyone in the public wishes to speak for or against the project at 128 Wheeler Street, you may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
Okay. There are 19 attendees on the call and no members of the public to comment at this time.
I thought we'd have someone.
It was Barry. Who
No,
has-
I thought we might have someone talking about this. That's fine. So, okay, so there's seeing none, hearing none, a closed public comment period. We'll move on to commissioner roll call comments.
Sure, comments from commissioners. Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwall,
No comment.
Commissioner Sargent.
Any mitigation, plantings, there be a 2-year monitoring of mortality?
Applicant okay with, well, we'll keep going. Go ahead. Sorry, Adrian.
Okay. Commissioner Sherman,
No comment.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
No comment.
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
My only comment was the tree loss, Mr. Judge. So we're gonna lose, there's a dogwood out front. So are we gonna get the same species back that we lost when these are removed? I mean, a dogwood, I see plenty of arborvitaes.
Yeah, those, if I could, those arborvitaes, they're sort of in tough shape. They might have, might be beyond their, useful life as far as the, I'm not sure how healthy they are. There's a yew on the front left and a conifer shrub to the right of the entry there in the dogwood. So those, we could replace them in kind. We did give a list of suggested plants and shrubs and trees on the plan that are more and, native and salt tolerant, but the main emphasis was native and a 2-to-1 ratio. That was what I thought we had agreed on.
Okay. I just didn't know if, well, that's fine. I would agree with that. Okay. Commissioners, any other comments on this? We reviewed it last time. We have a mortality we put on, 2-year mortality on the plantings. Anything else to add? Okay. If nobody has anything else to add, do we want to close the hearing on this?
Sure. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282825,
Charpentier
120
seconds.
Wheeler Street, sorry.
Excuse me.
That's
All
okay.
set?
Go
Okay,
ahead, Linda.
Charpentier seconds.
A roll call. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman,
Abstain.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, if nobody else has any comments, move to approve.
Certainly. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve NOI 0282825, 128 Wheeler Street.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman,
Abstain.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Goa.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all very much.
you're welcome. Next up is notice of intent 28-2822, 30, 48, and 50 Atlantic Avenue, Goodhue, Bill Manuel at Wetlands and Land Management, Inc. represented.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Bill Manuel from Wetlands and Land Management in Danvers. This is our second meeting, and we had our initial meeting where we discussed the project. We had a site visit that Dave, Rob, and Adrian attended. Since then, we surveyed, located the trees that would be impacted by the construction of the common driveway. And we have mitigated for those. And also we've shown a detail that now specifies a 2-foot wide gravel shoulder that would, in conjunction with crowning the driveway, will have the water shed to the gravel shoulder and have opportunity for infiltration and shedding off to the side of the common driveway. And that will alleviate the collection of sediment at the bottom of the hill on Atlantic Avenue. So we have that detail on the plan. We have an area specified for the replacement of the 5 trees that are going to be lost. We suggest that they be installed within the access and utility easement. And that way they won't be disturbed with future lot development. We have a specification for the trees. They're native specimens. We have a specification for that right underneath the siltation fence detail. And I think that was the extent of the comments. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, first off, I'll open up for public comment. Anybody in the public who wishes to speak for or against the project at 30, 48, and 50 Atlantic Avenue, you may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or a handheld device.
Okay, Chairman Gullo, there are 19 attendees on the call and 2 hands up. I'm going to begin with John Klein. I'll allow you to talk and ask you to unmute. Go ahead.
Yes, hello, John Klein, 52 Castle View Drive. We're abutters to lot 4. I had a question. The driveway is going to be gravel, unpaved. If this was going to be paved in the future, does that have to come back to the Conservation Commission for permitting? Or what's the process for that?
Okay, so what we do here is, sir, is we take the list of questions and then we allow the applicant to respond. So do you have any other comments?
Well, my comment would be that if no additional permitting would be required in the future, would the commission consider putting a condition on this that it cannot be paved in the future?
Okay, anything else?
Oh, and there are some small stubs coming off driveways going to the buildings. Is that the proposed driveways? Is that part of the work that's going to be done now, or is that future?
I think I can answer that. It's all future. This is just for the road all the way up.
Yes.
And the
Okay.
stub offs that are shown here.
Oh, so they are.
And
Not the
okay.
drive, not up that far, Adrian. I think they're just doing that one in particular, but the rest of them, see how it's just the driveway and the stub off at the end, correct, Mr. Manuel?
That's correct.
Yeah, so the one way at the top in lot 2, I think it is,
Yeah,
right there,
okay.
they're doing that stub off. The rest is just the road.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Anyone else?
EB, I'm going to allow you to talk and ask you to unmute. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Bale, Bayle at 53 Atlantic Ave. I wanted to first thank you for indicating the cluster of evergreen trees on the revised plan that are across from my property at 53 Atlantic Ave. And I appreciate having them shown there. I hope they'll survive all the construction of any type. My questions are, it's been brought to my attention that the mailboxes and the sign for the WIA and the stop sign that are there at the bottom of the drive are going to have to be moved, I guess. They're in the way according to this current plan, and I was wondering what's going to happen to them and who's responsible for dealing with that, because they're kind of important elements. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, Adrian?
No, Mr. Chairman, not at this time.
Okay. Seeing none, hearing none, I close the public comment period. Why don't we do commissioner roll call comments?
Sure. Comments from commissioners. Commissioner Charpentier.
Yes, I do have a question on the, could you tell me again the number of trees that are being taken down? And how
5
many?
trees.
5 trees? And how many are going to be planted?
12 trees.
12 trees. And are they, and are the trees going to be similar to the ones that were taken down? Not that we take down nice maples or oaks and then put up arborvitae somewhere.
Yeah.
No, the trees that are to be lost they're labeled on the plan. There's a pine, an oak, an oak, an oak, and a cedar. And the trees that we're going to put back will be a choice of pitch pine, red cedar, black cherry, or gray birch. All of those do well in the sandy environment.
And is the, I think we'll have to condition this with a mortality plan.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I had.
Okay. Commissioner Cook. Oh, he's recused. Thank you. Commissioner Gradwell.
No further comment.
Okay. Commissioner Sargent.
Yes, thank you for the meaningful changes, Bill. Because the mitigation areas within the access and utility easement, will monitoring and/or maintenance of these mitigation plantings be the responsibility of the homeowners association? Is the first question. And then I, agree with Commissioner Charpentier that there be a 2-year mortality monitoring for mitigation plantings. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Sherman.
Okay.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson
No additional comments.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
No comments. So with that, Mr. Manuel, do you mind answering the questions? Basically, I believe the paving issue, the parts that are jurisdictional to us, when you pave, you'll have to come before us again. The mailbox, I don't know anything about that. The 2-year mortality is self-explanatory and monitoring. I don't know if you had anything else on that list that you want to respond?
Yeah. So we're not proposing to pave the common driveway now. And yes, if it were proposed to be paved in the future in areas of your jurisdiction, yes, we would have to come back. The homeowners association would have to come back. I'm not in favor of any condition that it prohibits being paved in the future, because that's just something that the commission can't impose on the applicant. The mailbox and stop sign, yes, they do interfere with the driveway, and they'll have to be moved a little bit northerly. The contractor would do that at the time of construction. And the.
Construction,
applicant-
just to be clear, construction of the road, they'll do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And the applicant, I assume, until a homeowners association is actually created, and that would happen, at the sale of a lot or the first lot, I suppose, the applicant would be responsible for the survival of the trees and replacement. And then, yes, once the homeowners association is responsible, then I would imagine they would pick up the cost.
Okay.
Could that be conditioned?
And that should be conditioned.
I'm sorry, I missed that. What's going to be conditioned?
Commissioner Sargent said, could that be conditioned? And I said it should be conditioned.
And what exactly what are you saying is conditioned? The mailbox issue?
No, the mortality issue.
The mortality, yes, okay. Okay, commissioners, any other comments? Did I miss anything? Do we have anything else to add to this? For the record, anyone?
I think that we were limited on the number of people who could vote on this particular item to 4.
Well, I don't think it's a problem now. We will, I think you already, yeah, we have.
Robert's joining doesn't help. He can't vote on this one.
No, I know, but I think the only one who's recusing is Bill, right? So I think we're good. We should be good. And back to the, just for the general public, anyone on the call now, if you're looking at the plan on the only area, again, I know I mentioned this before, but to be clear, so the area with the heavier or shorter dash lines through lot 5 and part of lot 4, and then the buffer outside of that with the larger dash lines, that's our jurisdictional area, everything towards Atlantic Ave. So it's minimal in the whole grand scheme of things in this entire lot, but we do have some controls. When those lots come together, it says possible footprints, they will have to come before us again, so it will be reviewed again. Okay. And Joe, if there's nothing else, do you want to move to close the
Sure.
hearing?
Sure. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 028-2822, 30, 48, and 50 Atlantic Avenue.
Carpentier seconds?
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook. Oh, is recused. Thank you. Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman,
Abstain.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yeah, with the aforementioned conditions of mortality, what were the others? Mortality, 2-year mortality, the mailbox is not our concern for us. And no pain, so just the mortality, I would guess, correct?
That's what I have.
Yeah,
And-
so yes.
And the responsible party,
Say that again?
David?
and the responsible party,
Responsible party for what? Monitoring.
I think Dave is trying to say that it moves from the developer to the homeowners association.
correct?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So moved by me as well. I mean, I'm yes for me as well. So now we can move.
Okay,
approve the
we got
project.
that. And Rob, just for the record, I believe what Mr. Gradwell was referring to was you may have missed 2 hearings on this one. I'm not sure. But 4 of us are here, and assuming that we all vote for the project, it should be fine.
Okay.
Commissioner Jackson moves to approve NOI 028-2822 at 30, 48, and 50 Atlantic Avenue with the aforementioned conditions.
Carpentier seconds?
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook
He's
is recused. Thank you. Commissioner Gradwell,
yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman,
Abstain.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, commission members.
You're welcome. Have a good night. Next up, notice of intent 28-2. Oh,
This is Bill Cook, did we close that hearing?
yep.
Yeah.
I thought we went right in. Okay,
Nope, I promise I did.
We're good. Okay, next up, notice of intent 28-2829, 58 Great Republic Drive, 58 Great Republic Drive LLC, Scott Cameron at the Moran Cameron Group, Inc., representing.
Let's find him. Oh, he's in our attendees. I believe this is Jarrett. I'm going to promote you. You take a minute for him to come over.
Hello?
Hello,
Hi, can everybody hear me?
we can.
Hi, my name is Jarrett Bastis. I'm with the Moore and Cameron Group at 66 Elm Street in Danvers, Massachusetts. I'm here on behalf of the applicant at 58 Great Republic Drive. Scott Cameron had a scheduling conflict, so he wasn't able to be here, but he has asked me to come on. I've been doing a lot of the engineering work for this project. At the last meeting, the commission expressed some concern about the tree mitigation in the buffer zone. So we took a look at that and we went out onto the site and did a tree inventory. And I'll show you, it comes up in a second. We measured 18 trees within the buffer zone that had an 8-inch caliper or greater. And we've shown on the landscape plan, yes, right there. We've replaced those trees at 1-to-1 ratio along the limit of work in the buffer zone. Yep. And we've chosen American hornbeam, hemlock, and box elder maple as replacement trees for that. You'll see along the limit of work, you'll see the, yep. And then there's some down towards the bottom left.
Oh, that little pocket, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Towards the edge of
Nice.
the area.
That's a good spot.
And that's the only changes we've made to the plan as
Nice.
of now. And we've shown these diagrammatically, but we will have a landscape architect coordinate the final placement and planting. And those are the only changes that I have to present. Thank you for your time, and I will turn it back over to the commission.
Okay, thank you, sir. Your Zoom presence put you out of this world. Okay, so why don't we open this up to public comments? Anyone in the public who wishes to speak for or against the project at 58 Great Republic Drive may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
Okay. Chairman Gullo, there are 17 attendees on the call and no members of the public raising their hand at this time.
Okay, seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Why don't we do commissioner roll call comments?
Sure. Comments from commissioners. Commissioner Charpentier.
I heard that 18 trees were coming down and 18 were going to be planted. That seems not in line with our 2-to-1 mitigation and 2-to-1 replacement. And the second thing I would like to know is the trees that are being planted, what sort of diameter are there? Or is there?
So Jared, we're gonna go through everybody. You keep a list of the questions and then we'll circle back to you.
Okay.
Okay, sir? Okay.
And we're going to need a mortality plan.
Mhm.
Okay. Commissioner Cook.
no additional comments.
Commissioner Gradwell.
I like the placement of the trees. I don't think there's enough, but I like the placement of them down there where it's really going to make a difference. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Sargent.
I would agree with, the previous commissioner's comments and note that usually we want 7-inch diameter trees to be, identified in the field, and the closer to the resource area, the better, with a 2-to-1 mitigation and at least 2-year, mortality. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Sherman.
No comments.
Okay. Co-Chairwoman Jackson
No additional comments.
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
No additional comments. So where we landed, Jared, I don't know if you want to respond to that. I don't know if there was some confusion with the previous speaker for your representative. But normally we have 2-to-1 for every tree lost, we expect 2 to be planted. So I don't know how much weight you have that, I don't know how much the board is willing to, rather than have you come back, I don't know if this is something we can say, do we need to redo this or just double the amount of trees we have here and vote on it, or do we need to see a new plan? That's more of a question, I think, for the commission. I don't know if commissioners have a comment there. The 2-year mortality is very typical for us. We do that on every planting plan. So that's not a big deal, but we are going to require more plantings, and I don't know if we need to continue or if the commission is willing to come up with some creative solution. I don't know.
Yeah, I will follow up with that. The area is very densely planted already. There are a lot of trees there. So it may be difficult to have to introduce a lot more trees in there. We don't want to be crowding and having, too much competition in that area.
I think too, and I'm not sure, obviously I'm pro planting here, but I don't know if the commissioners, if the ones who are concerned about it, had included the trees that are located in the parking area as well. I don't know if that's why there's some confusion here about tree quantity. Because in the parking area, there's a fair amount of trees there as well, I think.
Yes, we have 12 trees in the parking area.
That's outside the buffer zone.
Correct. So I guess the only thing then to do, unless commissioners have Adrian have anything to add, I guess we're gonna have to continue this to see a little more density in the planting, more closer to 2-to-1 for the canopy loss.
And maybe the 7-inch diameter as well.
Say that again, David, what are you looking for?
The 7-inch diameter as opposed to the 8-inch diameter, a tree being specified.
You mean drop it down to 7-inch diameter requirement?
My understanding is that's what was always required when, John was on the commission.
Okay. So I'm not sure if you caught that, Jared. Basically, if you go down to, you may have lessened your canopy concerns by going to the 7-inch diameter instead of the 8. It may make less tree loss, is what we're getting at.
Okay.
But based on what I'm hearing from my commission now is that we're probably gonna have to continue to let you go look at that and double check the 2-to-1 mitigation and the 7-inch, not the 8-inch diameter tree removal. That make
Okay.
sense?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I don't know where the confusion was. So with that then, commissioners, if you don't have anything else to add, and Joe, do you want to move to continue?
Certainly. And in all fairness, I'm not sure we made those 2 requirements completely clear at the last meeting.
Okay,
So yes, Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282829 58 Great Republic Drive to, can you do the following meeting, March 2nd, I believe?
Yes.
Okay, to the meeting of March 2nd, 2022.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes,
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman,
Abstain.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
yes,
Thank you.
okay. Sorry
you.
about that. See you in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
Next up, 028-2828 Eastern Point Boulevard, Association of Eastern Point, John Gateway Consultants representing.
Once again, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, John Judd, representing the Eastern Point, the Association of Eastern Point for the proposed improvements adjacent to Raymond's Beach out on the Eastern Point section, Gloucester. And at our last meeting on the 2nd of February, I was given a few marching orders to modify the plan and also to come back with some information on the coastal bank. And I guess the armoring question was brought up, and you can see there what Adrian has. There was some requested specificity on the planting spacing, and you can see we modified that detail with the revision date of the 3rd, I believe. And yes, thank you. So what we did is we uploaded the NOAA National Oceanic recommendations for various stabilization. These are their techniques for various applications. And we're more, we go down to one more, I believe it's one more slide, Adrian, we have more of a revetment. I believe it was, yeah, I'm sorry, there it is right there. Sorry about that. And you can see this is one of their techniques, which is basically what we have. We have been working with various entities, including Mass Autobahn and also the fire chief with this project. So we're bringing up the road at the highest point, 1.8 feet, due to the recent washouts over storm events in the last couple of years and the erosion that's taken place. So we're proposing 8-foot minimum spacing along the edge of the roadway with native plants to really make a robust natural buffer between the road and the top of the coastal bank. We have included the techniques that recommended by NOAA on their stabilization for living shorelines. So that, I believe, those were the comments that were requested, and we modified the plans to indicate that. I can answer any questions you might have.
Okay, I'll open up for public comment. This is the period where anyone who wants to speak for or against the project at Eastern Point Boulevard may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
Okay, Chairman Gullah, there are 16 attendees on the call and no members of the public to comment at this time.
Okay. With that, then we'll move to commissioner comments.
Sure. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Serpentier.
No comments.
Commissioner Cook.
I'd like to thank John for the additional details as far as, the armoring the bank and that. I guess the question I have to ask, probably you, Adrian, would be, have we heard anything back from DEP? It's more we wanted to provide the information, so we had something to go up against them with in that regard. So I don't know if they've responded yet.
I have seen no technical comments from the DEP regarding the raising of the road.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So to be clear, Adrian, they wrote no comment or?
No,
Never
nothing has been
responded.
posted to the dashboard.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Gradwell.
No comment?
Commissioner Sargent.
Thank you, John, for the clarifications. Just a minor thing, but on the plan, it shows FEMA flood elevation at 14, and then later it shows it at 15. I think it's really 14, but that's a minor maybe typo. Previously, I had asked where the staging area for the stockpile of materials would be. I mean, that's a really tight area, and I want to make sure it's not on the beach or in the wetland and where it could be impacting, resource areas. And I want to make sure that all work is proposed to be accomplished from shore. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Sherman,
No comments.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
No comment.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
No additional comments.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Judd, you're welcome to respond to those. We basically, the flood elevation, storage of materials, and work from shore.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Dave. So the flood elevation is 14. I'm not sure where that, I was just looking at my plan, but that may have been a typo wherever it might be shown elsewhere. But as far as you can see, the right of way on this plan is fairly wide. It goes up to the thank you. It says mortared stone wall there, so that we have quite a bit of grass area that is on the lower portion on the let's say the easterly side of the Eastern Point pavement. So that is obviously further away from the top of bank. I suspect that that's where they're going to be using some of the grass area for temporary stockpiling of the stones. All work would certainly be done, and we can accept that as a condition landward, with the machinery from the pavement reaching over and placing with larger machines with thumbs that would place those boulders as shown on the detail. And so the stockpiling area would be adjacent on the easterly side on the away from the coastal bank.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Judd. Commissioners, anything else to add to this? I think the only thing really I had was, so we'll probably just have a 2-year mortality plan on the vegetation to just manage that. Other than that, unless anyone has any other comments, why don't we move to close the hearing?
Sure. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282828 at Eastern Point Boulevard.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman,
Abstain.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes, just with the comments that storage, those 3 items, storage, work from shore, and 2-year mortality be put on the final approval.
We were just closing the public hearing, Rob.
I'm ahead of myself.
You are.
Good
Okay.
point, so.
So for that, I
Yeah,
say,
we appreciate
yes,
it.
close the hearing, yes.
Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the NOI 0282828 at Eastern Point Boulevard with the aforementioned conditions so well enunciated.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman,
Abstain.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Sorry for that fumble there. So next up is notice of intent 28-2826, 49 Two Penny Lane, Benjamin Bradley, Dan Ottenheimer at Mill River Consultant representing.
Good evening, commissioners. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Hi, so we're here representing Benjamin Bradley Jr., who, as a side note, he and his father are 2 of the most distinguished journalists in the history of the United States. Not that that would impact your vote tonight, but just something you might want to take a look at. It's an honor to have the opportunity to work with Ben. So he owns a house out at 2 Penny Lane, number 49 2 Penny Lane, that needs to replace the on-site wastewater system. It's an absolutely lovely location and obviously a very sensitive site. The project itself would involve removing the existing septic system and installing a new one. The work is within land subject to coastal storm flowage. It's also within mapped habitat of the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species program, singular. They have come back with comments just yesterday saying that they have no concerns with this particular project. And there is also dune throughout this site and throughout this neighborhood. So we obviously focused our work on trying to minimize any resource area impact. So everything that we're looking to do is within the region between the existing house and the existing parking area. So we're obviously minimizing any work in natural settings. This is already a disturbed setting. So the septic system construction project is probably about a week's worth of work, and we've implemented several protective measures. If you, Adrian, if you don't mind, the other drawing that's on this page, if you could just scroll down, that would be appreciated. Yeah, right. So you can see a few things we've done. We've restricted the work zone so that the contractor stays within the areas that they need. We've established a equipment staging area within the existing parking lot. We are going to be putting up orange snow fence at the base of the dune so that we don't accidentally disturb the dune. And we're also putting in a very high quality septic system so that the effluent that's going into the ground is very high quality water as well. And then after construction, we're going to stabilize the area with the planting of American beach grass. And also the septic system itself will be examined on a routine basis to make sure it's properly functioning as part of the approval from the Board of Health. So that's the project.
Excellent, thank you. First up, I'll open up for public comment. Does anybody in the public, anybody who wishes to speak for or against the project at 49 Two Penny Lane may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
Co-Chairman Gullah, there are 12 attendees on the call and no members of the public to comment at this time.
All righty, seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Commissioner comments?
Roll call for commissioners. Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwell,
No comment.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes, Dan, in the narrative under number 5, proposed work, it sort of left the door open that if environmental conditions weren't appropriate, that dune grass wouldn't be planted. I want to make sure that if environmental conditions aren't appropriate, that they will be planted, you know, at a time in the future when it is appropriate. Thank you.
Yes, no doubt. We would not be able to request a certificate of compliance until the vegetation's been established. Correct. So that's in there just in the event they did the work in December and you couldn't establish the vegetation. They're planning on doing the work this spring, and I'm sure the vegetation will be planted this spring or this summer.
I'd like that to be, you know, clarified.
Condition, we'll put it in condition.
Right.
okay. Commissioner Sherman,
No comments.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
No comment.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
No comment.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the only condition there was that we would, no matter what, we're going to get plantings at some point.
Yes, no doubt. No doubt. I'm sorry if the wording wasn't clear. Yep.
Okay, with that then, commissioners, if there's no other comments, we want to close the hearing.
Certainly, Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282826 at 49 Two Penny Lane.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other comments, move to
Yep,
approve.
Commissioner Jackson moves to approve NOI 0282826 at 49 Two Penny Lane with the aforementioned conditions.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman, oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Sherman,
Abstain.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. Appreciate your
Have a good
time.
night.
Okay.
Next up, new business we're moving into, RDA 1721, 12 Grapevine Road, Hadley applicant.
All right, hold on. Play from here. Now, I need to see if he's here.
I'm here.
Let's see. Hold on. Oh, there you are. Hello.
I'm here.
Okay. So, it looks like your application was misfiled. So if you could describe to the commission the work. I'm looking in the file right now, and what I see is a blank
Slide.
application, right?
Mr. Hadley, you want to tell us what the project is briefly?
Sure, yeah. So I'm requesting a determination of applicability for the construction of a covered porch on the rear of the house. It is approximately 4 feet by 12 feet. It's really more of a stoop, sort of access to the backyard. And it is on the opposite side of the house from the wetlands, which are in the front of the house. It's measured about 104 feet from the wetlands through the house. So just trying to get a determination of as to whether it's the commission's applicable. I'm not sure if I'm using the right language here, but if it's applicable or if I need to move to the NOI stage for this project. There will be no removal of shrubs or trees or anything. There's nothing there currently. And we'll just be going over the existing driveway. I'm not even sure there will be a foundation for it. It really is truly just a back covered porch.
Okay. So it's covered. The only thing we have is you're saying you're building a covered porch over a existing paved area. Is that it?
No, it's in the back of the house on what's currently grass.
Okay.
The back lawn. It's right. Yeah, right. Oops, sorry, Adrian. Yeah, kind of right there. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'll open up for public comment. Does anyone in the public wish to speak for or against the project at 12 Grapevine Road? You may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
I see Dan Ottenheimer has his hand up, so I'm going to ask you to unmute.
That was a mistake. Sorry about that.
Oh, do you have the file, Dan?
Please tell us you have the file.
I know I have the hard copy.
Okay. So seeing none, hearing none, we'll close the public comment period. Mr. Hadley, so the only other thing I could think of, we're going to do roll call comments through commissioners in a minute, but the only thing I would have is usually we have a few plantings to offset the ability of your porch. It's covered, so you're not allowing water to get into the ground in your roofed areas. So we like to have a little offset with some mitigation in terms of plantings. I'm sure the agent can help you out with that. But with that, Adrian, why don't you move through commissioner comments and see if anyone else has anything to add.
Sure. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Charpentier.
Nothing to add.
Commissioner Cook.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. I thought the applicant said that it's 104 feet from the resource area. And if that's correct, is it even jurisdictional for us?
It's borderline, so that's why it's here.
Yeah. Okay, so if it's 104 feet, then yeah, some plantings would be fine.
Okay. Commissioner Gradwell.
I go along with that little bit of plantings and everything will be fine.
Okay. Commissioner Sargent.
Yes, I noticed that there was sort of a double posting, on our Google Drive. One was a RDA and the other was for NOI. And I think the RDA sort of said that it was 111 feet from the resource area. So the question is really, do we have jurisdiction or not? But I'm all in favor of plantings, even if it's not jurisdictional.
Okay. Commissioner Sherman,
No comment.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
I think if his description, if the applicant's description jives with your hard copy of the plan, Adrian, I think it is outside of our jurisdiction. And we'd love to see some plantings, but I don't see how we can require them.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yeah, I would have to guess, though, the reason it was pushed in as an RDA is because either the agent or somebody in our group thought it was worthwhile. So, Mr. Hadley, I think the bottom line is we're asking, not requiring, a couple of plantings maybe on each corner of this covered porch. If that is suitable to you, we could probably move this and get it off our agenda tonight.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, absolutely acceptable. We'll be more than willing to do that. Any recommendations you have for plantings or amounts?
Appreciate that. Okay. So this is a request for determination. So it's a positive or a negative. We should close the hearing, I would guess, first.
Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for RDA 1721 at 12 Grapevine Road.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson moves for a negative determination for RDA 1721 at 12 Grapevine Road with the recommendation that some plantings be made. And for the sake of clarification, we don't usually recommend which planting other than that they be native and suitable to the environment. And we usually aim for the a mature species of the plants to be a 2-to-1 mitigation for the area covered, which your porch is 48 square feet, so 96 square feet. So I finished my motion.
And Charpentier seconds that motion.
And roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes, but I just to be clear, I was only suggesting that the gentleman add a couple of plantings because we're basically all saying that it looks like it's non-jurisdictional. So if it's non-jurisdictional, I think we should only be asking for a couple of plantings here or there. But your comments on what type of plantings would be ideal.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, so I'm a yes as well.
Okay.
So
Thank
with
you.
that, Mr. Hadley, you're good to go. You got a negative determination. And if you wouldn't mind planting a couple of shrubs or native plants, that'd be great.
No problem. Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate your guidance and feedback.
Thank you, sir. Next up. RDA, notice of intent 28-2830, 15 Biskie Head Point, Heron Way Cooperative Association, David Smith, a GZA representative.
Good evening, Commissioners. David Smith here from GZA, representing the Heron Way Cooperative Association at 15 Biskie Head Point for the proposed pier reconstruction project. I believe there might be some attendees of the Heron Way Cooperative Association, and also Mr. Chip Nyland has been asked to attend on behalf of the Cooperative Association. And he's in attendance. Heron Way Cooperative Association is the owners of the Heron Way Marina at 15 Biskie Head Point. The site is about a 3-acre parcel where you enter in off of a gravel driveway, and it has a parking lot as you head south. And there's an existing stone revetment that runs along the western side of the property. And then it wraps around to the south. There's about a 2,500 square foot clubhouse building. and the gravel driveway is actually accessible around the perimeter of that building. To the southern limit of that site is a 32-foot wide by 96-foot long timber pier. It was constructed originally in the 1940s, and it has undergone some changes or improvements, I guess, or replacement of structures over the years. From that timber pier, there's a 3-foot by 45-foot gangway that leads down to the season or the existing berthing floats. So this project is just for the replacement of that 32-foot by 96-foot timber pier. It does not involve any of the floats out into the water. The pier is in pretty bad shape. It's beyond its useful life. It has a combination of timber piles, timber posts. Some are creosote, some are pressure treated. There's also large concrete foundations in at least 3 or 4 locations that help to support that pier. The pier is in 2 elevations. The first, or the landward third of the pier, is at elevation 7.2, I believe. And then the outer 2/3 of the pier is at elevation 8.5. So with the reconstruction of the pier, the Heron Way Marina folks wanted to take this opportunity to raise it up. We're going to raise it a foot total in height from the existing elevation. So it's going to go up to elevation 9.5. There is a landward portion of the pier that we're going to remain at elevation 7. And that will be for ease of access for loading and offloading for the marina patrons. So at least they have a place to put things. And then it'll go up by either steps similar to what exists now, or a ramp that'll be located off to the side of the pier. There's currently a 27-foot wide by 20-foot gazebo and stairs that lead to an upper level deck that is on the pier, as you see in that photo right there. That's going to be removed. We are going to replace that with a gazebo that's going to be smaller in size, and that will be roughly 16 by 24. It's going to actually set back 12 feet back from the front face. You can see it right up towards the seaward face, the southern face of the pier. The new structure is going to be set back from the edge. And you can see in that photo, that's a good photo, and actually the one following that, you can see the piles, you can see the concrete mass underneath. That's a great photo there that shows underneath the pier at low tide. This pier back in the 1940s was built over an old barge and scow by previous owners. And in 2004, when the marina was dredged, many of those remnants of that old scow was removed as part of mitigation for that project. And it was limited to just what could be easily moved by hand. There are still components of that scow that you see there in the sort of the background of that photo. So what we're proposing is we're going to remove all of those timbers. They're going to be on the bottom. They should be easily be able to be picked up off the bottom. We don't need to excavate to remove them. They're all pretty much at the surface, along with all the concrete blocks that are there, and certainly the whole pier structure itself. So the pier is going to be rebuilt in the same footprint, 32 by 96. It's going to have new pressure-treated timber piles, timber framing, and timber decking, and the function of the pier will remain the same. It'll provide access out to the season, or to the floats that are out there. And as part of this project, we're upgrading the gangway. Instead of a 3-foot by 45-foot, it'll be a little wider, 3.5 feet by 48 feet. Be a little longer to account for the increase in height of the pier. As part of this project, we're also going to replace the timber bulkhead that's on the land side, where the pier meets up to the land. There's a stone revetment, as I said, on the west side that kind of wraps around the property, and then it comes up and meets up underneath the pier. There's a timber bulkhead, and I believe that's shown in one of the other photos pretty well from underneath. It's a timber bulkhead with timber boards and some rock fill that support the land. Yeah, you can see photo 4. So that's what's underneath there now. So what we're going to do is we're going to integrate that first bent of piles and add more piles along the bent length. Instead of 8 feet on center, they're going to be 6 feet on center. And we're going to put timber boards behind it on the land side, and that will be used to retain the fill. That will be removed, the existing bulkhead. And what we're going to do is extend it 6 feet beyond the edge of the pier on both sides. And it'll basically die off into the stone revetment on the west side and basically die off on the east side, just right at grade level. And the idea is so they won't have any sort of washout or need to address that area underneath the pier in the future. This work is going to be taking place in the off season. We envision somewhere between the November or November to April, May timeframe, probably before May. So it'll be taking place over the winter time. It'll be accessed from both land. Majority of the project can be accessed from land, and depending on the contractor's equipment, you may be able to reach the far seaward end of that pier to be able to drive the piles, but we want to have the option that they might come in by a barge. The barge would be positioned on the backside of those floats. It won't ground out. The barge would be used during periods of high tide to be able to do the work and then moved to deeper water when low tide occurs. I think that's pretty much a summary of the project.
A very good summary, by the way. Okay, so with that, we'll open up for public comment first. Anyone in the public who wishes to speak for or against the project at 15 Biskie Head Point may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
Okay, Co-Chairman Gullah, there are 10 attendees on the call, and Charles Crowley, I see your hand up. I'm going to allow you to talk and ask you to unmute. Go ahead.
Okay, I think I unmuted. Hello. You know, our I think you guys can hear me. Our property is the neighboring property. We're in 19 Biskie Head Point. We are, to a degree, kind of surrounded by the marina. The marina enters in through an easement from our property. The driveway going to the marina goes through another easement. So we're just very close. We are not in any way, shape, or form against this project. We just have some questions. The pier does need to be replaced, and that much is clear. Why don't I go through my questions and comments, and then because I just first I have a question, but I guess I could go through it all, and then could I get a response to that at the end? Is that the way I should do it, or should I ask a question and then get a response?
I would just, yes, you know, you would ask the question and then we go through all the public comment.
Okay,
And
so
then it would be the applicant's responsibility to take note.
the first is just a question, and again, I'll take my answer at the end, is that when we did the work on our property a few years ago, I walked this with Ken Whitaker, and our property was flagged such that the upland edge of the marina lot was the resource area. So the entire marina was considered the resource area, and our 100-foot buffer zone starts at the upland edge of the marina parking lot and then goes 100 feet up, meaning all of our property basically is in some zone. And I walked it with Ken because I was a little bit frustrated on that because it's a parking lot. You know, every year they bring fill in and grade it with machines and everything. And here I have to treat it quite carefully. And I have a 100-foot buffer from that. And, you know, it was explained to me that that was, that it was filled marshland. And so thus it was considered the resource area. In this plan, this is not considered, the parking lot is considered the buffer zone and not the resource area. So that's question number one. And then the second question or issue that we have is that there is a long history of Chapter 91 permits for this property. There were 3 Chapter 91 permits. There's 2248, which is cited, which is for the pier, and that was to build the pier. And we have spent a lot of time with attorneys researching their permits, so we're pretty darn certain about what's going on here. That 2248 was issued in 1940. And it was for a 32 by 100 pier. the pier was accessed from the shoreline by a 30-foot by about, I'm going to tell you, 15-foot walkway, pier supported. That walkway has now been filled so that now that's where he's talking about the bulkhead going to the pier. Well, that 30-foot was filled. That 30-foot has never received any permitting. So Chapter 91 permits there are no Chapter 91 permits for that. The second permit that was issued, license that was issued for this for the Chapter 91 was number 1365, and that was issued in the 80s. And that was for the gangways and the floats, and it incorporated this license 2248 without any changes. And then later in the 1990s, there was a permit for a license 4693, and that was for the dinghy floats and for a gazebo, which was on the pier. Now, the gazebo is just exactly what it is it's as you go down the pier, it's the building to the left. The building to the right, which is a barbecue area, which is actually larger, was never permitted. So that does not show up on a license. That was roofed in about 2008. I was a member of the Marina at the time. It used to just be a cloth covered enclosure, but without permits, the roof was put on and the sides were done. So the question that I have for all this is that how do you, when you're looking at this and you're saying alternate analysis, you kind of look at what you've got and what is legally there. And then it seems to me, then you say, okay, what alternatives are there? And when I look at this pier, what it really is, that pier was built as a work pier. The gazebo was built illegally and then licensed afterwards, but it is licensed. But how do you make, because really what you need there is you need access to the marina, to the floats. That's what you really need. And how do you jive with an alternate analysis when you're saying okay, do we actually have a right to have that barbecue area? I'm not sure you do. Seems to me you kind of have to go get the permit or at least square up with Waterways so you know what you really have, square up with the area up in front, because Waterways could tell you, I don't think they would, but they could tell you that, hey, you need to get rid of this fill. But I guess I'm a little confused as to how we just sort of incorporate what's there and unlicensed, and then we're because we're just accepting it moving forward. So that is my second comment. And again, I just don't quite get how we deal with that. My third comment is that the height is starting at about, I don't know what it is, 6 feet above grade, something like that. And then there's a building up there. So I'm assuming that this will need to have a zoning board of appeals variance for height, because an accessory structure is limited to 12 feet. I think I'm correct on that. Let's see. And then just the fourth comment is that I would hope that you would put a caveat in there that the sink that's existing in the barbecue area be removed or at least plumbed in. My understanding is that sink where people wash their dishes after they cook just drains right down the river. And so when people are washing the dishes, we just get a ton of dish soap and crap floating down. So I would hope that you would put in there the caveat that we won't have any more of that. So that problem will be cleared up. Let's see, I think that's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Okay, anyone else, Adrian?
So Chairman Gullett, there are still 10 attendees on the call and no other members of the public to comment at this time. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so if no one else has their hand up to respond. So there were a lot of things there. So I'm seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. We probably should go to roll call comments from commissioners.
Okay, so commissioner comments, Commissioner Gullett, or I'm sorry, Commissioner Charpentier.
Not at this time.
Commissioner Cook.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. I believe the existing deck and the deck that's in the existing, I don't want to call it a gazebo because it really isn't, but the existing upper structure, I believe that is also permeable. I could be mistaken. The plan is now to put a non-permeable roof on that. There's nothing in the plan that addresses any of that runoff? Is it going to be directed somewhere? Or whatnot? I'm not sure. It's not being addressed. So I need to know, is the new, is the new deck going to be permeable? And then, what are we going to do about how we're going to handle the roof? Should we have something that will contain the runoff? Those are two things that I noticed, and if in light of what the neighbor has said, and they do have some type of plumbing and or sink service out there, that does need to be addressed, and we need to, get a handle on that. That's it.
Commissioner Gradwell.
I'm afraid I was stealing the thunder from Mr. Sargent, but I am almost certain that I saw that this was going to be pressure treated wood, and I know that Mr. Sargent and others would like to see non-toxic material.
Okay.
Commissioner Sargent.
Yeah, thank you for proposing to remove the remaining debris by the bulkhead. That's, was left over from, the previous dredging issue. This is an environmentally sensitive area. There are active shellfish beds and an anadromous cadaverous fish run in the Little River. The applicant has not presented sufficiently of this project proposes to be in compliance with some wetland regulations, specifically 310 CMR 10.34 land containing shellfish and 310 CMR 10.35 banks and land under the ocean, rivers, lakes, and creeks that underlie anadromous cadaverous fish runs. In order to protect these interests, at a minimum, all construction material that contacts the water, including but not limited to the bulkhead and pilings, should not contain any materials that would be harmful to the marine environment, such as CCA. In order to not disrupt the state-recognized Aloy fish run, there should also be a time of year restriction, or TOY, for all work done within the water from March 15th to June 15th. There should also be comments from Shellfish Department, Division of Marine Fisheries, and the Harbor Master. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sherman.
I have a question about the footings, the concrete footings and the revetment. Those are those going to be repaired, or is it going to be the exact same footings used for to build a new pier? It seemed like some of those footings are in kind of rough shape. And I'm just wondering if there was a plan to either replace or repair those footings and the revetment.
Okay. Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
No further comments from previous commissioners.
Okay, and Co-Chairman Gilla.
Similar comments to everyone else. Mr. Crowley, I see you're still on the call, which is good. I was wondering if you could do a small letter note, if you're up for it, to just send into the commission, because you had a lot of information. I think I got most of it, but you seem to have a much better grasp of it. If you could put everything you just said into a quick little letter and forward it to the commission so we have it and we could give it to the applicant, that would be wonderful. But you shouldn't have to do anyone else's work. But if you could, it'd be appreciated. Otherwise, I am, I think there's still a lot of work based on comments from other commissioners and the public. We need a little more information, at least in terms of what materials we're going to be using, as well as some of these structures and whether or not they need to be permitted prior to our review. They may not be, but I think we're going to need to continue, but I'll allow the applicant to make some comments prior to continuing. So if Mr. Smith wants to chime in, you're welcome to do so now.
Sure, great, thank you.
Mr. Smith, before you begin, I just want to recognize Attorney Nyland does have his hand up. And so I don't know if you would like him to speak first, or you would like to wait, or you would like him to wait and you can speak first.
Sure, I welcome him to speak first.
Okay. So I'm going to allow you to talk and ask you to unmute Attorney Nyland.
Good evening. Thank you. Nice to be in front of you again. I just wanted to address the Chapter 91 issues. I've been in front of this commission a number of times with respect to Chapter 91 matters. And you know that while there's similar jurisdiction, there's a procedural requirement that before we can secure a Chapter 91 license or amendment, we need to get approval from the Conservation Commission. So while Mr. Crowley raises several questions with respect to Chapter 91, they're obviously not within, your jurisdiction in terms of what the status is of those licenses. I've been brought in to bring everything, up to date. For instance, the reconfiguration permit that was issued in 1995 is going to be expiring. So we have some work to do. So I just wanted to let you know that for purposes of Chapter 91, we're coming to see you to get approval for the work that we're seeking, and then we have to go to Chapter 91 to get that license. But in terms of the chairman's question about sequence, it's Concom first and then Chapter 91 afterwards. So I think that was all I want to offer with respect to Chapter 91. If the commission has any other questions, I could answer those, or just go to David. And if there's anything else, David, you need me to answer, let me know.
Yeah, why don't we let Mr. Smith finish up? And then I still think we're going to need to continue, not so much about Chapter 91, but there are some issues related to zoning. We don't want to end up going backwards, meaning if we can approve, if something changes here, rather than do it twice, let's just capture everything in one meeting now and not have to do it again. So unless you feel comfortable moving ahead, I think there's everything from, at least changing the plan to non-toxic. We don't like peers that are use CCA. So there's going to need to be some updating of the plans. So let's try and capture that now as much as we can. So next time you come, we can make a decision one way or the other.
Yeah, I wasn't, Mr. Chairman, I wasn't looking to close the hearing. I agree with you, but I just wanted to make sure that I addressed the 91 questions that were raised.
Understood. Thank you. Mr. Smith,
Yep, thank you. So I'll start with Mr. Crowley's comments. Thank you, Chip, for answering number 2. I don't think I need to touch upon that. The first comment with the buffer zone and the resource area of the parking lot. Unfortunately, we didn't show the whole entire parcel on our drawings just because of drawing, clarity. Our main focus is the pier. Certainly access into this site needs to be through that parking lot. The area around the building is probably going to be used for staging and storage of materials and equipment. We are proposing to put erosion control along that whole side from actually the timber pier going northward all the way along that edge. I believe it is buffer zoned. I'd have to, unfortunately, I'm only looking at part of the parcel here, but it is salt marsh. You have an edge there, which is a stone rebatment coastal bank. And then I believe you basically have just that flat parcel of the parking lot. So I'd have to look further as far as the resource areas, but I'm assuming that would be the buffer zone. The issue with height and a variance with the zoning board, I've never come across that in any of my peer projects, but to caveat that, we will be, as Chip said, going before Chapter 91 as part of that process. The zoning and planning board gets notified and they have to sign off if there are any issues associated with their applicable boards related to the Chapter 91 filing. The sink in the barbecue area, I admit I don't know anything about this, so I will need to investigate and get back to the commission on this.
There are the piers too. One of the commissioners wanted to know about those concrete blocks.
Yep, I'm going down my list.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Commissioner Cook had the comment about the roof structure. I believe the existing, I call it gazebo, but it's a screen porch. I believe that is a flat roof that's on there that is waterproof. That was my understanding. The new roof, we're just going to shed the water off the roof onto the existing deck. The deck will be permeable in the sense there'll be gaps, spaces between the deck boards, just like what exists now. We don't propose any changes to what basically occurs. It will be a smaller footprint than what's currently out there. But that's, I can elaborate more on that, I guess, when we come back. The sink, again, I'll investigate that and address that. The other comments with regard to non-toxic and CCA treated, I will respond back to the commission on that in writing. We have used CCA treated timber piles on numerous jobs, most recently Magnolia Pier, the large deck structure at Cape Ann Marina. So certainly it's a cost-effective way to support this pier. It would be cost prohibitive to get into concrete or steel. Even Greenheart timber piles are very hard to come by. You know, they're coming out of Guyana, and it's, you know, we're sacrificing the rainforest to get those piles, and the quality and the availability and the cost has been lately with everything else has been tough to come by. But I can address that in before the next hearing. As far as the time of year restriction, I guess we certainly would entertain whatever the comments are from Division of Marine Fisheries. They are the ones that usually request that, the March 15th. So hopefully with the start of construction in November, we would be completed by all in-water work by March 15th. So I don't see an issue with that. I did send copies to the Gloucester Shellfish Constable and the Harbor Master. They both emailed me back saying they would provide comments before the 16th. Adrian, did they not respond?
I do have comments from Shellfish and the Harbor Master. Traditionally, the commission will request comment from related departments, and I will take that into the second hearing.
Okay, and I can reach out to them as well. Did we get any comments from Division of Marine Fisheries?
I have not received anything from DMF yet.
Okay, I will check with them as well. The question with regard to the footings, those concrete footings or supports that are out there now, everything's going to be coming out. We plan to drive the timber piles, the new timber piles, which are 12-inch diameter, to refusal. So there won't be anything on the mud line. As I said earlier, we're looking to clean up that site, get out all that debris that's on the bottom, including those the concrete blocks that are there. So that's how it'll be supported. Any work around the bulkhead, we're going to take out the adjacent revetment just to the limited sense, just to be able to do the work, and then it'll be restored. We don't anticipate any impacts to salt marsh. We won't be touching that. And I think I addressed all of them.
Excellent. Okay, so commissioners, I would, you know, if there's anything you want them to, the applicant to look at, you know, be it CCA, be it removal of things that may stir up other problems, like how we're going to pull the existing piers. Are they all just bearing piers and not driven piles? I mean, I don't know if there are any other issues that commissioners are concerned about at this time. Now's the time to get it before them, so when they come back, we're kind of all on the same page.
Well, I guess the only one thing is when we're doing this, I know they were putting up some snow fencing and that around some of the upper areas and that, but I'd like to see a boom put out across the whole front section to capture anything that'll be coming in.
Okay. Anyone else, commissioners, before we send them back to work? Okay, so Mrs. Smith, I don't know if you want to answer this question, is are these all bearing piles on footings, or are they driven piles that you'll be removing?
The original piles are driven piles. There were some piles or posts that are under there now that I think just got kind of scabbed in and are sitting on timbers that are sitting on mud. So it's a combination of different errors.
So that may be something we ask you to add, is that we tend to prefer to cut them at the mud line, so not pull them. If this thing moves forward, that would probably be a condition.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think in our narrative, we said we could cut or pull, but we would need to pull them if the piles are in the footprint of the new piles going in.
Okay. Commissioners, anything else? We didn't do I mean, I saw something, but I'm not, do we have to vote on the alternatives analysis?
Why?
Should.
At some point?
We probably should do it now. We're supposed to do it before there's any discussion of the project, I believe.
I know, that's why I'm a little concerned.
Well,
Kinda
then maybe
jumping
we
up.
should vote on it. Shall I make a motion?
Couldn't hurt.
All right. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the alternatives analysis for NOI 0282830 at 15 Biskie Head Point, with the one comment that one alternative that was not explored was that it could have been smaller.
Correct.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman,
Abstain.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. That was my mistake. I should have caught it. Okay, so I guess you have some stuff to do, Mr. Smith. Anything else to add before we move to continue?
I just did, one thing I did forget to mention is that there is going to be a turbidity boom around the whole work site when the work takes place, both in the demolition process and also for the new construction.
If it's not in the drawing, can you put it in there?
Yeah, it's in the narrative. I can look in the drawing, but I can add it if it's not.
Thank you.
Okay.
So are you ready to go in 2 weeks or?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282830 at 15 Biskie Head Point to the Conservation Commission meeting of March 2nd, 2022.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
See you in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
I'd like to stop you just for a moment, Co-Chairman Gullo, so that everyone who wants to drop off the call can do that.
Mhm.
I understand there were members of the cooperative. Okay, let's go ahead.
For the next two, are these, have the DEP numbers been dropped or are they still missing? Not,
I do not have DEP numbers for either.
okay. Okay, we have notice of intent, no DEP number for 39R Nashua Avenue, Stern, John Judd at Gateway Consultants representing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, John Judd representing Dr. Stern for this property at 39 Rear Nashua Ave. This is a vacant parcel, which is approximately 22,000 square feet. You can see the outline is shown on the plat that Adrian has put up. The proposal is for a 40 by 30 dwelling. This looks like a different plan here. This is Carol. This is the next one.
There we go, hold on.
That's okay. And so this is, again, a vacant property that has influences from the Coastal Bank, which is opposite what's shown as Ocean Avenue. The Coastal Bank actually comes landward of Ocean Avenue. The roads that you see around are shown as Ocean Ave, Marblehead Ave, Harvard Avenue, and Beach Avenue. Of those four, only Beach Avenue is actually used as a gravel driveway, and Ocean Avenue really extends from Diamond Avenue, which is toward the top of the screen, where the access is proposed to be gained for this new dwelling. Marblehead Avenue and Harvard Avenue are largely just paper roads, unimproved. This is obviously in the Annisquam section of Gloucester. And again, the proposal is for a new single-family dwelling with a screen porch and a covered porch, fairly modest size, with a gravel driveway area that would access off the existing gravel area toward the south of the property. And the proposal also includes mitigation planting that would equal over 200% of the proposed impervious area, as well as utility connections that would go to the existing service gates in Beach Avenue. The proposal is for the mitigation planting to offset again, the impervious area with a ratio of 2 to 1. The entire site is within resource area buffer zones. You can see the freshwater wetland to the left. It's an isolated wetland, but it is fairly large. We're treating it as a protected area. And you have the coastal bank, which is coincident with the FEMA flood elevation per 92-1 policy. And exactly, that's the FEMA 92-1 flood line and top of coastal bank by definition. So that is a proposal. There's no grading essentially proposed. There is the removal of large boulders out there that would be taken out through the access gain from Diamond Ave. You can see we have a fortified barrier of erosion control that would border both sides of the proposed work. And we have substantial amount of mitigation planning, which is the hatch line that you can see. That's over 3,600 square feet of mitigation planting, native salt tolerant mitigation planting on the property. And can answer any questions. As the chairman has pointed out, we're still awaiting the DEP file number, so we would not be able to close in any event tonight.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'll open up for public comment. Anyone from the public is welcome to speak for or against the project at 39R Nashua Avenue. If you want to comment, you may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
Co-Chairman Gullo, there are 6 attendees on the call, and Carrie McKenna, I see your hand up. I'm going to allow you to talk and ask you to unmute. Go ahead.
Hello? Hello? Ms. McKenna? Give her a second.
Sure.
Was there anyone else looking to talk or just her?
That is the only hand up at this time.
Okay. Give her a few more seconds here.
Sure.
Ms. McKenna?
If you don't close the public comment period, you can come back to her.
Okay, why don't we do that then? Well, there's no one else on the call, so, all right, why don't we move to commissioner comments? Adrian?
Commissioner comments. Commissioner Charpentier.
No comments.
Commissioner Cook.
Yeah, John, just for a point of clarification, you see where you say on the drawing, it says proposed. Let me see if I get this right. It's proposed covered deck, and then there's a proposed pervious deck,
Yes,
and then there's a screen porch. Is the screen to porch also going to be, is that going to be a covered deck?
it is. That would be covered. That's shown in the calculations, Bill, that is shown on the plan. So there's a small pervious deck that you can see is toward the, yeah, right there, a very small section.
Okay, so yeah, basically, so it's a wraparound covered porch, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And
On
the
two,
propo- And you have the proposed step tank that's coming in. Now, is this gonna? You said we're getting water and sewer connections coming in from,
yeah, they already exist. There's services, yeah, right there. There's existing service laterals for this lot.
okay, that was the only question that I had.
Still working a little bit with Carrie McKenna. We'll go to the next. Commissioner Gradwell,
No comments.
Commissioner Sargent.
Yes, John, I'm wondering if any trees need to be removed. And I'm also, if any site dewatering needs to happen, it shouldn't be directed into the coastal beach or into the isolated vegetated wetland without appropriate treatment. And there should be a 2-year monitoring for mortality of mitigation plantings. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Sherman,
No comments.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
No comments.
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
Yeah, my concern is this vegetated wetland and how close this is my usual concerns with these kinds of projects is, yeah, we're really tight here. And what do we have for flags, stones, fences, something to really, this is really tight. That my fear has been in the past is that these projects tend to, when the house gets built, people want to live there. So we need some formidable control there to signage saying this is a wetland and cannot be disturbed, some fencing to flag the area, and maybe some placards as well. That's my only concern is this is a really tight area to the BVW, and I'm a little concerned about it. This is really tight.
Okay.
That would be it for me.
All right, that is all comments. And Ms. McKenna.
Yeah,
Hi.
she just flagged
Oh,
me.
You are. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
You
Yeah.
can.
So you know what? I rebooted something on my computer. Sorry about that. I'm not quite sure why the microphone wasn't working, but it was not. Sorry about that.
No worries.
So yes, so thank you. I just had one question, and that was if I was wondering if there's going to be any blasting involved with this construction.
Okay. Anything else? We're gonna close the public hearing if that's all you have.
No, actually, I guess if there's going to be plantings required, I guess I would respectfully ask if they could be low height plantings, low height native plantings.
We don't get into height, unfortunately. That's not our purview, but the applicant heard you. Maybe they'll be nice enough to do it, but we can't control height.
Okay,
Anything else?
no,
Okay, so the applicant will respond to your blasting issue as soon as we hang up with you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So
So it-
commissioners, I think, yeah, so I have my concerns. Yeah, well, you have a list, I'm sure, to go.
Please close the public comment period.
Oh, sorry about that. Seeing none, hearing none, I close the public comment period. Now we can move to commissioner comments were made. Mr. Judd, if you want to respond, you could start with the neighbor's concern.
Yes, if I could, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Relative to Ms. McKenna's comments, you can see that there's significant amount of large erratics that are on the surface here. We try to show those on the plan. The intent is to try to drill and split those large rocks so they can be taken off-site. Dr. Stern does not need a full foundation, but he would like a crawl space. That was his indication to me. The elevation here you can see there's a path that sort of goes right up and through there. That elevation's approximately 24 is the high point. The wetland area down the isolated wetland is around 16. So there's a pretty good difference in elevation. So the intent is to drill and split and take those large erratics off. And he prefers not to blast for obvious economic reasons. But he doesn't want to rule that out if needed. But I'm not sure if that answers the questions. We would be doing everything in accordance with the fire department regulations if there is a need to blast. But again, it's his intention not to blast if he can avoid it. Relative
Well,
to.
I think the only condition we would add then in that case would be is that if you're gonna shift gears, you need to just let us know if you're gonna go to a
Sure.
blasting plan.
We can certainly do that.
Okay.
And we're okay with that being in the order of conditions, so.
Okay, good.
So the chair's comments had concerns about proximity to that isolated wetland. We are willing to put in a split rail fence with placards indicating, every maybe 16 feet, showing that no access and no disturbance beyond this point. And that could follow that exact line of that temporary erosion control fence that goes there. So we could make a note on that plan. We can do that prior to the next meeting. There are no trees to be removed here. These are all just shrubs, and so there's no large trees, no trees at all, anything over 4-inch in diameter. And dewatering, that's certainly unacceptable. We could use some type of a dewatering device. I don't see that happening. This is a knoll that it's again much higher than the surrounding isolated wetland area. So there's no expectation that there would be any type of groundwater where we would be installing this crawl space. And I think those were the only questions that were asked.
Commissioners, any comments to add?
Yeah, I'd like to ask, I saw where John said they could put a split rail fence in, but on the drawings showing an existing path.
Yep.
That goes around the wetlands.
Yep.
Is that accessible only by the homeowner, or
Yes.
is it?
Yes, that's a footpath, Bill, that goes from the property on the other side of what's shown as Harvard.
Okay, so if you're putting the split rail fence up, you're basically going to be shutting off that path, correct?
Well, I suppose we could leave, so you're saying that you would like that path not to be closed off?
No, I just want to specify that, the path would be closed off if you're putting the split rail fence in where your erosion control is, then effectively nobody should be using that path, correct?
Yeah, so we could also leave a 3-foot opening just to continue that access by foot by the other parcel.
Well, I if I may chime in, because I'm the one who said it, but I would like to have that split rail fence if the applicant was willing to let that just revegetate. I'm a little concerned about having just.
Sure.
But
Yep.
if I'm just asking if the applicant's willing to let the fence stay all the way through and not have that path be accessible, that would be much appreciated, but not a requirement. But we definitely need the split rail fence. If you want to keep the 3-foot apron opening, that's fine.
We will show that.
Okay. Thanks, Bill, for that. Follow up. Anyone else?
I think there still should be the 2-year monitoring of, mitigation plantings.
I concur. Okay. If there's nothing else, we want to continue this to the next meeting. Is that what we're doing? Waiting for the DEP?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 028 unassigned DEP number at 39R Nashua Avenue to the Conservation Commission meeting of March 2nd, 2022.
Carpentier seconds.
Roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, no DEP number, 97 Leonard Street, Bailey, John Judd at Gateway Consultants representing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. Last item tonight for myself, representing Carol Bailey, who is on the call, on the Zoom call tonight. This is an existing dwelling at on Leonard Street, and Carol would like to reconstruct the existing house. You can see it's the parcel outlined, and there's an existing structure there that the applicant has been in front of the zoning board of appeals to construct a garage on the upper side of the drawing without much luck with the zoning board of appeals, or I should say from the neighborhood. I guess one particular abutter did not want it. So we're going back and proposing the plan that you see before you with a plan that shows the new structure to meet all zoning requirements as far as a building setback. So essentially, Carol went through the expense of redesigning the house to pull the house away from the abutters lot line. However, we have, entirely within the buffer zone, we have the proposal to be as shown on this plan. As part of this, we are going to also replace the step tank and a substantial amount of mitigation planting associated with this proposal. There is an impervious area calculation. You can see chart on the right, and we are looking to mitigate over 200% of the increase in impervious area that's proposed. In addition to that, we are proposing a rain garden to handle the proposed roof runoff, which currently none exists at this time. So there's no treatment coming off this roof right now. And we are proposing to treat that with a surface rain garden. There is an existing subsurface pipe that you can sort of see. It goes right through the middle of this property. That is through an easement that was granted by the previous owner, and that will not be disturbed as part of this construction project that just discharges into that intermittent stream that you see where the cursor is right now. So the BVW, or the Board of Vegetation, is that hatched area, and that's for the most part just on the lower portion of the lot. But you can see the entire, nearly the entire site is within the buffer zone to that wetland area. We are proposing staked erosion control during the whole construction process along that limit of work. And again, we're just trying to appease the neighborhood with this new layout and moving things further away from lot lines. We can, again, Carol's on the line. We do not have a DP number, so we can answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you. I'll open up for public comment. Before I do that, though, and maybe, not to drag you into the fray early on, Mr. Chairman, but didn't we have is this that project where there was a lot of digging and whatnot going on right in that corner where they were draining the wetland? Do you remember that?
I do very well.
Is this that project?
It is.
Is it the same owner applicants? The reason I bring it up, Mr. Judd, is that we had a very difficult time. If it's the same owner, there was a lot of abuses going on that we were trying to rectify, and eventually we just gave up. I don't know if it's the owner or the applicant we have now, but I'm hopeful that they treated, there was a lot of digging, and we were getting complaints from all the neighbors saying, we had to go before conservation. Why didn't they? They're over there tearing up the whole yard, and it was pretty aggressive. I'm hoping this is new ownership and we'll get a better result. But that being said, I'll move on to public comment period. Anyone in the public who wishes to speak for or against the project at 97 Leonard Street may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen, or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
Okay. So there are 4 attendees on the call and 1 member of the public to speak at this time. It's Ruth Carmichael. I'm going to allow you to talk and ask you to unmute. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Kevin Carmichael. I am the abutter at 99 Leonard, directly north of this property. And I just want to say that I'm very thankful for putting the pipe on the plan and calling attention to it, because it is vital to our dry basement. So I want to say thank you for that, and good luck with the project.
Thank you very much. Anyone else, Adrian?
There is another member of the public. Oh, hand up, Carol Bailey, maybe? Yes, okay, hold on. So Carol Bailey, I see your hand up. I'm going to allow you to talk and ask you to unmute. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the time this night. We are not the owners that were in the prior issues that you mentioned, Commissioner Guller. We were not even aware of any of these pipes or easements, to be actually honest, when we bought the property. So
I'm just curious, how long have you owned the property?
it'll be 3 years in April.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't you then. It was
Yeah.
the previous owner. Yeah, it was bad. It was a mess. But anyways, thank you for clarifying that.
Okay.
Anyone else, Adrian?
No other members of the public to comment at this time.
Okay, seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Commissioner comments?
Sure. Commissioner Sharp's here.
No comments.
Commissioner Cook.
I guess the comment I have is if you take, and this would probably be to John, if you're taking out the existing foundation in the backside where it shows where you're not going to have anything, what's the plans to do grading or whatever back there so that can get stabilized again? That's the only question.
Okay. Commissioner Gradwell.
No comment.
Commissioner Sargent.
I'm really not trying to design the project, but I'm just wondering if any consideration was given to the possibility of daylighting, a portion of the covered stream, by the intermittent stream for mitigation. If the building is going to be removed and any dewatering needs to take place, it shouldn't be directed without treatment, into the wetland. And I'm curious if any trees need to be removed. And there needs to be a 2-year monitoring for the mortality of mitigation plantings. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Sherman.
Yes, as Commissioner Co-Chair Gullah mentioned, this property did come before us several years ago. Where that pipe previously ended and it then became the stream that was several feet of that, probably 15 feet of that was completely filled in. And the area closest to the wetland was raised up with fill that essentially went a long way towards killing the trees that were closest to the wetland part of the property. And again, there was an order of conditions that there should not be any cutting of the vegetation beyond, and we actually had a rock that was shown to the previous owner, and that order was never complied with. So I guess if it's possible that we can look back at that previous order conditions and see if there's any way that we can add those or make the property owner aware of that previous order conditions, because the property has changed significantly.
Thank you. Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
No comments additional to those offered.
Okay. And Co-Chairman Gullah. Co-Chairman Gullah? Oh, you're muted, sir.
I muted myself. That's how much I talk. I just want to comment with follow up on Mr. Sherman's comment. I don't know if there is closure, or if anyone even looked at the previous. We had multiple enforcement orders there, and as well as a notice of intent in place. So I'd be curious to make sure that all that was closed out, and if possible, if we could gather any information from those, if they still exist, to try and fix what we were looking at, or at least make the applicant aware what happened and what should not happen in the future. Because it was basically, they were trying to get rid of the wetland, is the bottom line, the previous owners. And they were doing everything in their power to just avoid us. Again, I'm not mistaken, there were multiple enforcement orders just ignored. So it would be interesting to try and look back, have the applicant look back, or their representative, and check on those. And first of all, make sure they've been closed, and then also make sure, is there any opportunities similar to what Mr. Sargent was saying, Commissioner Sargent was saying, is because again, some of these pipes weren't there before. I'm not blaming the applicant. I'm just saying maybe there's an opportunity here to just capture some of these and clean these up, either on the paperwork side, but also in the field, maybe there's an opportunity. I'm obviously going to be concerned about the, fencing again and placards because of the proximity to the house and the resource there. So that's something I would like addressed with either fencing, placards, stones, something like that as well.
Is there any other comments, Mr.
I think that's
Chairman,
it.
address those?
I think that's it.
Okay, thank you. We can go back, I guess, in order for the chairman. So we can certainly add the fence and placards along the resource area line. But predominantly, I just wanted to point out or reiterate that we have over 3,400 square feet of native planting that's going to be in what's currently used as lawn right now. So that whole clouded area that kind of goes around the proposed rain garden. That's all going to be planted, and we have the planting notes, as we always do with the mitigation notes on the plan that goes on the chain of title. So that I believe that addresses both of those, and we're going to look into, between now and the next meeting, we're going to look on the registry of deeds to see what was issued, what was recorded for any orders of conditions and or certificates of compliance that were issued for this property, because again, this is all news to Carol and myself, the history on this. I obviously wasn't involved with any of this, and neither was Carol. And we will look into that, and we'll come back with a report to the commission at the next hearing. But I can assure you that Carol is doing everything properly here. She's trying to work with the neighbors, as you can see. And she just wants to ensure that everything goes smoothly for her new home. She's going to be investing a lot of money into this. Relative to the Mr. Sargent's comments, there are no trees proposed. There is one tree that exists, and we show it. That's a 24-inch tree right in front of the house. That's going to remain. So it's actually to the right of that. Actually, yeah, right there. That's that wants to remain. And as far as the dewatering, they will certainly employ any kind of methods necessary to make sure that there's no turbidity leaving into the foundation hole when this is poured. The foundation is poured, or any sonotubes are installed. Relative to Mr. Cook's comments, as you probably already know, Mount Adness Cemetery is behind the property, and I just lost power here for a second. So you can see there's quite a slope that comes down toward the back of the house. So I spoke to Pete Shea, who is the attorney for the clerk of the corporation for the cemetery today, and he has no problems with the project. I wished us the best on this, as well as another neighbor across the street who was very supportive. But I guess my point is that slope comes down off the cemetery. The intent is to remove that portion of the building, as Bill points out, and allow that swale to be constructed to allow that drainage to come down. And that would all be stabilized in a grass swale. And there would be, again, we're protecting the wetland area with the staked erosion control that's going to be further down adjacent to the wetland. So I believe those were the comments. Mr. Sherman had comments about the property has changed and significantly since he was last out there. And again, Carol's only owned the property for less than about 3 years, and she intends on doing everything appropriately and legally. So,
I appreciate that. Now, so I'm sure she's on the call listening. We're not gonna hold you responsible for anything someone did prior act, so I don't want her to worry about that. It was just more, we went through, it was bad with the previous owner, so it's obviously it stings. But we're not gonna hold her responsible for someone else's actions, so not to worry. Okay, commissioners, anything else to add? If not, want to move to continuing, Joe?
Yes, will he be ready for March 2nd?
yes.
Okay,
Well, assuming DEP, I'm sure they will. I'll rattle their cage
Yeah.
tomorrow, try to get a file number.
okay. Then Commissioner Jackson moves to continue the project at 97 Leonard Street with the unassigned DEP number to the Conservation Commission meeting of March 2nd, 2022.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullo,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson. Oops,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yes.
That's okay. Thank you very much, Ms.
All right,
Judge. Good
thank
night.
you, Bob. Have a great night. Good
You
night.
too. Next up, we're into other commission business. We have extension 28-2451, 92 Leonard Street. Robert Meter. Is he here?
He's here tonight.
I'm here this time.
Ah, he does exist.
He does, yes. Hello, commissioners and Agent Leonard. I mean, so I apologize.
You
I
need an
missed-
extension?
Pardon me?
You're looking for an extension?
Yes, we have utilities in. Unfortunately, before the snow and ground froze, we were not able to finish everything on the street side between the street and the graded driveway, which is mostly the area you can see that's impacted by the wetland area. We do have Aranio coming back when things thaw out to complete the work. We were careful in trying to accommodate National Grid Gas, National Grid Electric, and DPW for the water placements, but it didn't quite happen. So we only had two really areas that we had to impact on the street coming up to the house about the midpoint. So that is completed, and we were able to get a tree cutter in there, just a two-man job that used ladders and ropes instead of just coming in and cutting and dropping trees. They parsed them out and dropped them down on the ground, so there was minimal damage to the surrounding trees. We did have some storm damage through the winter that they trimmed off of other trees also in the front. So I think it looks actually pretty good if you've driven by there recently. The house sits a little bit taller than we anticipated because we had run into blasting and could not go any deeper, so we had to raise the foundation a little bit higher than what it shows. So we're anticipating planting some trees in the front, probably evergreens that will block the view of the house from the street as you're coming down Leonard.
Okay, not to cut you off, sir, but we're running late. So if you're looking for 1-year extension?
Yes.
Okay. So if, commissioners, do you have any comments or questions about this? I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It's my favored 1-year request. So if everyone's good with it, we can move to approve.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve a 1-year extension for EXT 0282451 at 92 Leonard Street.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman,
Abstain.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next up, extension 28-2540, One Rose Square, Maricold, Jonathan Delgado of Froth Infrastructure and Environment representing. And we might as well capture 28-2541, One Rose Square, Maricold, Jonathan Delgado at Fourth Infrastructure and Environment.
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. Thank you very much. Just for the record, the DP file number 2540, the address is actually 69 Rogers Street.
Okay,
Not sure if that matters to be clear up or not, but we are seeking to extend these two permits. Unfortunately, due to lack of budget and timing with everything that happened with COVID, we were unable to complete all of the repairs as stated in the order of conditions, and we are just looking to extend this out to allow us to complete the repairs and also align with the deadline for the Army Corps permit.
how many years you're looking for, sir?
So we are looking for 2 years. There was I believe in 2020, we did apply for an extension and were granted 2 years then. And I understand that the limit is usually 3 years, but I figured I would try to get the 2 years if possible.
Adrian, correct me if I'm wrong, is there a regulation issue giving them 2 more years beyond the 3? I mean, 1 more year beyond the 3?
We can extend another 3 years. We can extend 3 years 2 times,
Okay,
up to 3 years 2 times. And so this is his final opportunity to request before he has to go to Wilmington.
okay. All right, sir. So let me see if commissioners, should we be opening these for public comment? I don't think so, right?
Nope, these are consent permitting.
Yeah, okay. So with that, commissioner comments on this, you want to do roll call?
Sure. Comments for each of them. Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwell,
2 year without question.
Commissioner Sargent,
No comment.
Commissioner Sherman,
No comment.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
I'm okay with 2 years.
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
I'm okay with 2 years and no comment, so we can move that, I guess.
That's fine. Go ahead, Co-Chairman Jackson.
Sure. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve extension 0282540 at 1 Rose Square and extension 0282541 at 1 Rose Square, both for a period of 2 years.
Charpentier seconds.
A roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes, but clarification, the first one is Rogers Street.
that's correct.
Yes,
Okay,
I stand corrected.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman,
Abstain.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes,
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're all set, sir.
Great, thank you very much.
Next up, extension 2634, 32 Coles Island Road, Gutierrez, Ramos, Evan Gavendran at DeRosa Environmental Consulting representing. Sorry you had to wait this long.
That's okay. Hi, everyone. Evan Gavendran here from DeRosa Environmental. We are seeking a 3-year extension for the ecological restoration project approved at 32 Coles Island Road. The reason for 3 years is 1, because COVID kind of put a hold on the project, and 2, we have not yet installed the native plantings. So to ensure the 2-year monitoring requirement, upon that, we would need the 3 years.
Understood. Commissioners, any comments, questions, concerns about doing it? 2 years, is that what you asked, or 3 years?
3 years, please.
Commissioners?
Good.
I'm seeing no comments. All right. And Joe, you want to move it?
yep. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve a 3-year extension for the purpose of mitigation planting and monitoring for 2 years, as well as, I think you named one other reason, for extension 0282634 at 32 Coles Island Road.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes,
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman,
Abstain.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're all set.
right. Thank you.
Sorry I had to wait so long. That was a long night.
That's okay. Have a good night.
You too now. Next up, RCOC 28-2279, 29 Ford Square, Atea, and ROC 28-2712, 21 Thatcher Road, Cefalo. Anyone have any concerns or questions about those?
Nope.
I went by 29 Fort Square. That project is totally fine. And then as a reminder, commissioners, 21 Thatcher Road, 2712 is a previously permitted project. We just recently closed the new order of conditions for that project. And so this is a paperwork matter. We had approved an addition to the house, and the new owners, represented by Wetlands and Land Management, were doing a tear down rebuild.
Okay,
So no work completed on this one.
okay. All right. Hey, Joe, you want to move these?
Yep. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve RCOC 0282279 at 29 Fort Square and RCOC 0282712 at 21 Thatcher Road.
Charpentier seconds.
Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
yes,
Commissioner Gradwell,
yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman,
Abstain.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
We did it.
Well done, everyone. Thank you.
That was a big night.
Thank
Got a lot
you.
done.
Before you move on, I just want to let you know I will be on vacation. Next,
Oh, wait a minute, I don't know if that can
For
happen.
the next meeting?
no, I'll be here for the next meeting next week. It's school vacation week, and I'm taking my mom and kids to Disney.
That's
Nice.
right. Remember that. Yeah.
So I will be back exhausted, bleary-eyed, and behind
Yes.
for the
I'm
March
sure.
2nd meeting.
And poor.
And
Yeah.
poor, so poor. Oh, it's already gone. I haven't been to Disney since I was a child. And the lesson I've learned here is you have to book everything in advance. Apparently the whole thing has to be reserved, and then you show up and light more money on fire, I guess, on the ground. I don't know. I will let you know. But it has been stunning how much I have forfeited already before even stepping off the airplane in Florida to
Well,
make this
We'll
trip.
have a wonderful time.
I
Yeah.
hope we all do.
especially the kids.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure they'll
Oh.
love it. Have they
They're-
ever been before, the kids?
No.
Oh, wow, they're in for a big treat.
Remember, their only goal is to make you have fun.
I
Yeah.
know. Yep.
So,
That's
Hakuna Matata.
That's right. Just saying it
All
again.
Everybody
right.
stay safe.
All right, everybody, thank you
Okay,
for
good
when
tonight.
do you have these, Adrian?
What's that?
Signing.
You have these before
Signature
you go?
pages tomorrow by noon. They'll be sitting there. Deb will be in the office too. Also, if you need to look up, historic records while
Yeah.
I'm gone.
Okay,
Move to adjourn.
move to adjourn.
and Adrian, you can use my stamp.
Thank you.
Okay.
So did someone move to adjourn?
Yes, Adrian did. Somebody did.
Well,
Move
Linda
to
did.
adjourn.
Linda,
Move to
did.
adjourn.
Someone else was, it's not me.
Someone second Linda,
Why
please.
not?
Second.
There we go.
Perfect.
Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
No.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes, welcome
Thank
back,
you.
Mr. Sherman. Welcome back.
Thank you so much. Glad to be back.
All right.
Glad
Good to
you
have
got
you.
back for that one particular Leonard Street piece of
Fiasco.
property.
Isn't it
What are the
funny?
odds of that showing up?
What a
Or me
coincidence. that
remembering it.
is.
All right, everybody be safe.
All right.
Good night.
Come on, Adrian.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Take care.